What is up, guys, and welcome to today's prediction video. So for today's video we will be looking at the Champions League clash on the 4th of October between Borussia Dortmund and AC Milan. Now this is a bit of a weird fixture because, believe it or not, these two sides have actually never met in competitive tournaments before. The only meeting between them was in a friendly in 2017, I think, that Dortmund won 3-1. But obviously we don't really take friendlies into consideration much on this channel, simply because friendlies serve up weird ties where Burnley can beat Real Madrid, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying it's highly improbable. So I don't really like to use friendlies to consider, fixtures going forward. But all that means is we can skip this portion of the video and actually get straight into the team analysis. So we start off our team analysis with Borussia Dortmund. Now the German side have 3 wins, a draw and a loss in their last 5. Their last match turned out to be a 3-1 win against Hoffenheim. So it's looking fairly good for Dortmund. I mean, obviously they're still disappointed about missing out on the Bundesliga last season, but it is what it is. No use crying over spilt milk. You move forward, and that's exactly what Dortmund have done. But I think what's really strange is Marco Reus is back. I think a lot of people may have forgotten that, Marco Reus kind of does still exist. But that's because the poor German winger has been plagued by injuries consistently throughout his career. I mean, Germany went out and won the 2014 World Cup, and you could turn around and say maybe they wouldn't have won it with Reus, but he wasn't even around. I think he'd injured himself in the training camp in Brazil just before the World Cup had started. So it's been really unfortunate for Reus, but so far 3 goals for him this season for Borussia Dortmund. It's looking okay. He's not the player he once was, so I don't expect, crazy, amazing runs and blistering pace on the wing. But what I do expect from him is maybe a bit more composure and a bit more creative playmaker role kind of, maneuvers. Just trying to find passes and through balls for players. And I think the player he's going to be looking for the most is Milan. Now, Milan was brought into Dortmund after, I would say honestly, the departure of Erling Haaland really dented Dortmund last season. But I think also what we got to remember is they did bring in Sebastian Haller. Now the problem with Sebastian Haller was, I think he was diagnosed with cancer at one point. It was very difficult for Dortmund because they didn't have an out-and-out number 9. So they realized they needed a replacement for him. And now they have Milan, and Milan is doing quite well. It's 3 goals for him as well. He's probably going to be the main target man for Dortmund going forward, so I expect him to be the danger man for Dortmund. But don't be surprised if Haller does show up as well. Next up, I want to talk Mats Hummels. Now, Hummels left Dortmund, went to Bayern. Things didn't go as planned, came back to Dortmund. But the thing is, Hummels brings you a little bit of attack and defense, which is something you don't really see from a centre-back. He is so dangerous from set pieces. I mean, he's already proved that. I think he's already got 2 goals, both in the same match, from set pieces. That's exactly what you want from your centre-backs. You want a player who's no-nonsense defending when defending set pieces, but also who aggressively attacks the ball when your team is awarded a set piece. And that's exactly what Mats Hummels does. Now, I think maybe Mats Hummels' only con in this situation is he's gotten on with age, so maybe he's not as quick as he used to be. But I think that sort of allows other qualities in him to shine, things like leadership and aggression and reading of the game. So it'll be very interesting to see how Mats Hummels and the entire Dortmund team deal with this AC Milan team. Okay, and speaking of AC Milan, let's just get straight into the team analysis for the Rossoneri. Like Dortmund, it is 3 wins, a draw and a loss in the last 5 for the Rossoneri. Their last fixture ended with a 2-0 victory over Lazio in the Serie A. A lot of the Rossoneri's success these last few seasons has been down to Olivier Giroud, and I mean he's reaching the wrong end of 30, but this man still has 4 goals and 3 assists for AC Milan this season. How? Your guess is as good as mine, but I think what's happened is Giroud has sort of managed to convert himself into the perfect Zlatan Ibrahimovic replacement at AC Milan. Perhaps maybe just not with the personality and the flair. But his no-nonsense target man style of play works perfectly with a Milan squad that is full of creativity and full of dribblers and players who want to find a target man. I just think, with Giroud's age, if he leaves AC Milan, I think they're going to have a bit of a problem there. But that's where you look at your youngsters, and who better to look at than Rafael Leao? It's 3 goals and 3 assists for the young Portuguese winger. Leao has really improved from last season. He's a completely different player, I feel. Decision making is so much better. Before, with Leao, I think he was more of a greedy kind of player, I'm going to say, who just wanted to take on all comers and just take shots. But now he's learned that sometimes you need to pass, sometimes you need to dribble, sometimes you need to go out wide, and sometimes you need to cut in through the center. And having a dangerous center forward like Giroud next to him means that it gives him more space, because defenders naturally tend to focus on Giroud. So that means Leao has more space to maneuver into. So I think he's going to be very important creatively for AC Milan. And then again, I want to highlight a defender for AC Milan, Tomori. Now, the last time Tomori did not play for the Rossoneri was in the Milan derby. And AC Milan went down 5-1 to Inter Milan. So that just goes to show how important he is for that back line. I often sing the praises of Mike Maignan, but I think, as always, we've got to remember a goalkeeper is only as good as the defensive line in front of him. And I think it's safe to say the defensive line of AC Milan without Tomori is quite fragile. So Tomori will be required to do both a bit of leading, but I think the major advantage that Tomori has over perhaps a defender like Mats Hummels is because he's still young. Tomori's got quite a bit of pace, so he should be able to deal with the likes of Reus and Malen, and especially knowing that Dortmund love to play on the counter-attack. Tomori's going to be doing a lot of running, but I think he's got the legs to cover that. Okay, on to the S3M2 verdict. Now, knowing that these two sides have not met competitively yet is so exciting. I mean, firstly, how do they cope with going to one another's home grounds? I mean, the San Siro can be so intimidating, but the same can be said about Signal Iduna Park. So, it's really just very interesting to see how these sides will deal with playing away, but also with how they host each other. I'm also very curious to see how the back line of Dortmund deals with the front line of AC Milan, and how the back line of AC Milan deals with the front line of Dortmund. I think, in that sense, I think maybe, the Milan backline has a bit more pace because of Tomori and guys like Theo Hernandez. And I think Theo Hernandez as well, he's going to be matched up directly with Marco Reus. So I think Reus is kind of going to figure that because Hernandez is so much faster, because I think he is faster, Reus is going to have to sort of tuck in a bit more centrally and just play quicker balls to Malen. But then Malen is probably going to find himself man-marked by Tomori. But then the same could be said for Giroud. Giroud's not exactly the quickest, so I think if Hummels man-marks Giroud, it will come down to a battle of physicality between the two. This is such an even contest. I genuinely can't say who I think is going to win. I do think it's more likely that Milan will score, but I think also the styles of play are very, very interesting to watch, because as far as I know, both of these sides prefer to play quick on the counter-attack. So it'll be funny to see, is this going to be kind of like a basketball match where it's end to end all the time? Or is somebody going to try and hold on to the ball and dictate things? I do think it's more likely that AC Milan score, but I think the most likely result in this one is a draw. Simply because knowing that Milan drew with Newcastle, Dortmund lost in a game against PSG that they fairly could have won, honestly. But I think these two sides are just too even. I cannot separate them for the life of me. It would have been easier if Tomori was suspended, or if perhaps somebody crucial was injured, but I really just can't cut this one right now. So I'm going to go with a draw on this one. Hi, thank you for making it to the end of this video. We really appreciate the watch time. And the fact that you took some time out of your day to spend it with us talking about the sport that we all love. If you enjoyed the content, why not, drop a like down below or comment in the comment section. Maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. And I mean, while you are here right now, have a look at some of our old videos too. They should be appearing on the screen right now, along with that subscribe button. So you know exactly what to do. Thank you so much. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And have a great day out there. And we hope to see you again very, very soon. Thanks. Stay safe.